Welcome to the Cutting Onions podcast with Bobby Shaw, where we celebrate culture that develops leaders. This is episode 9, and in today's conversation, I sit down with author, chef, and hospitality consultant Andrew Craig. From working as a prep cook, to general manager, to business owner, and successful hospitality consultant, Andrew has built a career with a proven track record of culinary excellence and business acumen that has helped owners and leaders to build their business and their restaurants. Based in Ottawa, Canada, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Andrew and his son at North Italia restaurant in Austin, Texas, where we had a great conversation on the restaurant business, leadership, creating culture, and how to attract more young leaders into the business. Along the way, Andrew inspired me, and I'm sure he will inspire you too. His passion for the business comes through loud and clear during the conversation, and his desire to help and coach other leaders in becoming better is palpable, and it was an amazing conversation. Since this was a longer podcast, I'm splitting it up into 2 parts for easier listening. Here's part 1 of my conversation with Andrew Craig. See you on the other side.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming down here, all the way from Canada.
All the way down from Canada.
Via Houston, Texas.
Via Houston.
That's awesome.
I had to make the drive up. It's a boys' weekend with my son and I, and we rented a convertible Camaro. If you're going to drive across Texas in a car, you might as well have an American muscle car, and it might as well be a convertible. I couldn't miss up the opportunity. We're in Texas to come and meet you and,
awesome.
And have a chat.
Well, I really enjoyed our exchanges on LinkedIn and going back and forth on email, and I think we're very much the same, have a lot of like-minded philosophies, and so I can't wait to dig into the content with you and just kind of chat with you about the industry and where you've seen it go and where you see it going. So, but just to start, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and kind of who you are and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Craig. I'm the owner and founder of Whitmore Hospitality in Canada. So we're a full-service hospitality coaching and consulting company. We do a lot of things. We really focus on the small market, independent or small chain restaurants, because I think that's my roots in restaurants, is really independence that grew into small chains, or even 1 or 2. The first restaurant I ever worked in actually grew into a national chain, but I was only a prep cook at the time, so I can't really take any credit for that one. But that's really where I love to focus, because I think those are the people that really need the help. You get into the big chains and there's so many minds and so many people into them. I like to be able to act like a corporate office for my clients. So that's what we've really endeavored to do. And I do great things, like I've got rebate programs for their liquor and their food, because you can't get them. As an independent restaurant, you can't go back to a supplier and say, hey, I bought a bag of ketchup, give me more money back.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. Where, as a big chain, you can certainly go back and say, I buy a lot of ketchup.
Absolutely. Or even at the beginning, like, I think I'm going to buy a lot, and you get some benefit from that.
Absolutely.
So you're actually negotiating that for your clients?
Well, yeah. So I've partnered into bigger food programs. So in Canada, we've got a program called Food Buy.
Okay.
And they're actually through a very large buying group. They're one of the biggest buying groups in North America, really.
Wow.
What happens there with the Compass Group, essentially, is like,
sure.
Yeah. So I'm able to tie into that. Compass gets a little bit of a cut out of it too, but it mostly goes to the restaurateur. And it's really a value add for my services, because I'm proving right away and saying, hey, look, these are the kind of things that the corporate guys get. Let me just help you get that. And it's not going to pay your rent every month, but you know what? Those extra dollars going back in your pocket that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise really help out. The liquor programs are huge. I mean, that's a lot of money.
I'll bet.
So those are the kind of things I like to do. And then I do coaching sessions. So I've started a program now where I'm doing phone coaching for groups. I do one-on-one coaching as well if it's remote, so that if a client's far away.
Sure.
I even do one-on-ones with just coffee shops. I have clients where it's once a week. I can't believe this is happening. What's happening to me? Why is this? I can't get anybody to do the work.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's break down why they're not doing the work.
Right.
Why is it you?
Yep.
Which is a big question.
It is.
And owners don't really necessarily like to hear that.
No, it's true though.
Have you hired the right people? are they willing to do the work or not? And before we went on air for this, we were talking about that, and I think there is a miss in that as well now, that we're hiring maybe not the right people.
Right.
And it's a big part of what I do as a coach is to say you have to have the right team. Think of it as a baseball team. Do you keep that bottom 10% guy, or is he put on waivers?
Exactly.
He's put on waivers, and you pick up the best outfielder you can, or the best, we're Canadian, so pinch hitter. And I'm going to throw one out there. Like the Blue Jays just brought up this kid from the minors, Bo Bichette, and he's killing it. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. No, that's right. That's me. There we go.
Lunch has arrived.
That's right.
And I think that's the thing, where if you can replace some of these big marquee players that, I use with another friend of mine who's a consultant, we use Betty. And Betty is the server that's been there the longest, because
she has all the institutional knowledge.
Yeah, she knows a lot of things, and she knows a lot of people, but she's just persevered. That's the only real quality to Betty, because Betty sucks. So that's the kind of thing where I look with, as a coach, and I actually give frank, honest opinions to the owners and say, look, you really gotta dig deep. I know there's a lot of time spent with Betty, and you've built that connection or that family feel with her, but Betty's part of the reason your business is sinking. She's part of the reason you're talking. So have you built a good team? So those are the kind of things that Whitmore does. I really like to get in and be a part of the restaurant.
I do too.
If we're doing a menu build, I will put on a chef jacket and be in the restaurant.
I think it's an extra basil as well.
If it's whatever the occasion may be, and it's just really understanding what my clients do.
So do you find it one of those challenges? I'm just curious, because you do some really important work, and I love that you have such a passion for the small business owner, the smaller restaurant operator. Do you find it when you're having that talk, the talk where you're having to sit down with an owner and say, look, I don't think you got the right people here. What is the, from scale of 1 to 10, what's the level of resistance that you get from them initially when you bring that up to them? Just on average.
It does vary by the client. It really does.
Thank you so much.
The shock of it, I think, is probably an 8.
Yeah.
You really get that where they either, and this is the hard part. Do you see what's going on in your restaurant? And that's a big part of coaching, right? Is, can I help you get what I see? Because when I walk in the door and I see Betty and she's, sitting having a smoke at the counter, or I've used that as an example, as the worst possible thing that could happen. But hey, we're not that far off of having that. Canada banned smoking in restaurants in Ontario, where I'm from. It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
But that happened. I mean, that used to be a thing. And your hostess would have a cigarette at the counter. It was like, what? But how do you get somebody to see that? So that's what I do as a coach as well. And when I go back to them and say, yeah, 8 out of 10 of your servers suck.
Yeah.
And they're not helping you. The idea is to get your team working to a point where the restaurant is important to everybody, and you're all driving towards the same idea. So I have an approach that I bring to them. It's just 4 cornerstones, and it spells S.I.C.K, which isn't my best branding moment, but it's systems, identity, culture, and knowledge.
Actually, I love it, because if you don't have those things, that's exactly what you are.
You're sick.
You're sick. You're not healthy.
So it's kind of, everyone has health.
I love it.
Yeah, it kind of works out, but it really comes down to understanding your identity in that as well. So as an owner, you understand what your staff should be doing and looking like and acting like, and do they have the right culture that's going to support you? Do they have the right knowledge? And that whole identity. This little restaurant that we're in, you can see the staff are all face forward. They're all looking at their guests.
Absolutely.
they're all, they're doing their cutlery, they're doing their roll-ups, but they're looking at the restaurant. And that's part of that whole process of, are your staff capable of doing the job, and do they want to do it for you?
That's right.
And do they want to do it with you even better?
So tell me the acronym again. S.I.C.K, right?
Yeah, S.I.C.K.
Systems?
So systems, identity, culture, and knowledge.
Beautiful.
And if you can put those four things together for me as a consultant to put it together for a small business owner.
Yep.
Yeah, how many times do you go into a small restaurant and go to the cook and say, have you ever had a menu test?
Do you really know
what
all's on our menu?
Yeah. Yes. Can you tell me what the ingredients are in the tomato sauce? Or, it just shocks me sometimes that you don't have a basic knowledge of what you're doing. It's just assembly.
Right. It's true.
And servers, to the point of, if there's a substitution, do you have to go back and ask what the ingredients are? I bet you we could ask our server and go through and say, what's in the sauce? And probably we'll have a very good idea, because this seems like a very well organized and run restaurant. She's been here a while.
Right.
Very friendly.
Yep.
Upsold a little bit too.
Yep.
But very, not aggressively. It was all very,
right.
Hey, cool.
Right. It's all very natural.
It's all very natural. Those are the four key points that I try to bring to somebody when they come to me and I have to go to them and say, listen, I'm sorry. I really feel that your staff are a big part of your core problem. And I face that a lot, because I do think it goes back again to what I was saying earlier, is that I think there is a bit of a problem with what we are hiring, where we're setting our expectations for these new hires. Every generation blames the new generation. Oh, those lazy kids. I don't know. I'm getting older, so I'm starting to say that.
Except for those crazy kids are going to be running these companies in about 15, 20 years.
Yeah, and it's going to be Betty.
If we don't do something about Betty.
Something about it. And I won't say that everybody's terrible. There are some absolutely wonderful people that come into this industry and that really thrive in it and that want to be enthusiastic and show it's about the guest experience for me. So if you can make my experience phenomenal and you enjoy doing this and you make money doing this and it's good money, even as a cook, it's got to be a passion for doing it. If we can foster that and develop that, I know one of the later questions is what book am I reading, but I want to just touch on Danny Meyer's book. And
love that book, Setting the Table.
Yeah,
it's classic. Love it.
You really just have to set that culture to people and have them grow and thrive. And if you can get someone in that position, then you don't have to go to an owner and say, hey, they don't suck.
Right.
You can actually say they don't suck.
Right.
Here's some things we can now do. Why don't we try this? Why don't we move forward on that? Why don't we collect some ideas from them? Because they're going to be enthusiastic about those ideas.
That's right.
That's the large introduction of
No. I mean, I think that's fantastic, Andrew. And I would just validate what you're saying, because I was working with a client one time who had called me. The initial call was, hey, I've got this concept. Would love for you to come and look at it. I've had it open for a few years. Not sure if it's viable. I want you to just come in here and tell me if you think it's good, or if I need to go get a job at Costco. So
they pay well.
So I said, of course. So I flew in, spent 2 or 3 days, and when we met to discuss my observations, I spent time with the team. He's got a couple of units open, went to visit those units, met with the team, met with the leadership he's got. Small organization, so there's not a lot of layers, which like you, I love that, right?
Yeah.
Now my experience is a little different, and I've worked for some really large companies, and there's lots of layers. I'm just not a big layer guy. So we met on day 3 before I flew home, and I said, you've got a great concept. And he's like, great. I said, however, you've got the wrong people leading it. And it was just like this moment where he was like, I didn't really know you were going to tell me that. But then he started thinking about it. Then he started looking at it. He started And then there was this realization of, and then I'm sure you have this moment too, where then you have a client who wants to start to beat themselves up for it when what you're trying to tell them is, no. You see it now. That's the good news.
You got to see it first.
Now we can move forward. Now we can make some impact.
Yeah.